Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the second half of our program. Well, before we get started, let's give all those Lifetime Service inductees a round of applause. We'd also like to remind our Lifetime Service recipients that at the conclusion of this program, we'll ask all Lifetime Service recipients as well as Hall of Fame inductees to please come to the stage with your award for your group photo. So again, if we could keep the talking to a minimum, we'll now begin our second half. And now, we'd like to recognize our 2025 California Wrestling Hall of Fame inductees. We'll be honoring 13 individuals this evening as inductees into our class of 2025. This is a very important part for our inductees. Each inductee will have a 5-minute maximum speech. So Todd Tomczak, please keep it to 5 minutes. Just as we did with the Lifetime Service Awards, a friend, coach, former athlete, teammate, or family member will be present. The inductee was his or her plaque. We hope that by using a presenter selected by the inductee, that it will make the award even more meaningful to the inductee or the representative. So when I announce the inductee, I'll also announce the presenter and ask them both to come forward. Inductees, once again, and Todd, this is a warning, 5 minutes. I will also be giving each speaker a little 30-second warning, and if I have to, I'll come and tap you on the shoulder and say thank you. Also like to just recognize that one of our Hall of Fame inductees tonight will be receiving a free complimentary Hall of Fame ring donated by Bellflower, who was just outside. So that'll be selected by our executive board. Now, Todd, we know we have lots of money, so you can't buy your way into this one, okay? And now, ladies and gentlemen, introducing our first 2025 California Wrestling Hall of Fame inductee, Miss Victoria Anthony. Our presenter is our high school head coach of Fountain Valley, Mr. Dennis Carano. Would you like it in your hand, or? Good?
Yeah, thanks. Sure. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here tonight, and thank you to California Wrestling for putting on such a great event. Thank you especially to all my family and friends who took the time to be here with me. To be honest, awards really have never been my thing, but I was honestly shocked when my parents told me how many people were showing up for me tonight. Multiple people flied in. Sometimes I don't recognize the gravity of what I've done in my life, but having people fly in just to be here for me and honor my life's work in the sport of wrestling helps me understand what this all really means. My life was forever changed by Coach Dennis Paramo when I was 14 years old. Up until then, I had done judo, and I got injured my 8th grade year, had a bunch of surgeries, and had stopped doing sports. And my parents suggested I join the high school boys wrestling team, and I was like, absolutely not happening. That's social suicide at the school. I'm not doing it. Luckily, Coach Dennis was trying to recruit kids out of PE, and I hated PE. I was sitting in PE, a pretty good athlete, and he did a demonstration, and I think I had a friend that pointed at me and said, she'll join the demonstration. And from that day on, I decided, okay, I'm gonna join the boys wrestling team. But even though I decided that day, it still took me 2 weeks to even walk in the front doors of the wrestling room because I was so nervous, so scared, and so uncomfortable. And I think that continued every single day of my freshman year, every practice, and really throughout high school wrestling, I remember having these feelings of discomfort. But that's a testament to what this sport really means to me, that you can put yourself in uncomfortable positions day in and day out. And the sport of wrestling has truly forged me into a woman that I'm proud to be, a confident woman that knows she belongs in any room she enters. And the grit that comes with wrestling is not easily found in our world today. So this is all stuff I'm so grateful for. And I'm also grateful for the progress of women's wrestling in the United States and the explosion of growth for women in this sport and all that are going to come after me. Yes. Thank you. Truly, truly, wrestling has given me everything that I have in my life today, and it's not an exaggeration. I've traveled to 55 countries, majority for the sport of wrestling, and many of them many times over, for tournaments, and just learn the world through the sport of wrestling. I'm also able to support myself. I have independence in my life, and I built the platform to positively influence others entirely because of the sport of wrestling. I have the best people I could ask for in my life because of the sport, and I'm so grateful to have them on this journey with me and myself on theirs. With that, I would like to thank, first and foremost, my parents, Nadine and Tony. Woo! They have been my biggest supporters since day one, and they've always shown me that they love me no matter what. It doesn't matter what I do out in the world, they're my parents and they love and support me. They've also been my mode of transportation to absolutely everything. And even today, my dad brought me here today. They brought me to every single practice, came to every tournament, and truly did everything in their power to allow me the opportunity to chase my dreams. And I oh my gosh. I feel like I couldn't ever repay you guys, but I hope to do that one day. Thank you for everything. Thank you to my sisters also, my sisters Danielle and Jessica, for putting up with me and my neuroticism and my craziness, especially when I was younger. Also walking with me through my journey, my entire life, like even till today, helping me pick my dress, my jewelry. They're always there for me. Thank you, you too. Thank you, Coach Dennis, again, for starting me in the sport and changing my life forever. Without that day, I don't know what path I would be on. So, and continuing to be someone I call a good friend. Thank you, Shannon Slack, for walking with me and supporting me on this journey. Since I was, I think, 15, Shannon showed me what hard training was. Oop, hello. Should I project? Oh, hello. Okay. Thank you for having me. Shannon had me run sidewalk sprints at 5 a.m. It was not the best, but I really appreciate everything, and you've shown up for me the whole way through, even to today. Thank you to my cousin Justin for always supporting me. No matter what country I'm in, you've traveled all over the entire world, various continents, to watch me compete, and it means the world to me. Thank you to the Cadwalder family, Coach Big Pat, who I was scared of for my first couple years. The Cadwalder family means so much to me, and Coach Pat, Coach Little Pat, and Coach Danny forged me into a technical wrestler. They added to my journey in freestyle. Thank you guys. Thank you to my Aunt Rhonda for being here, Nadine, Karma, Josh, and all of my family and friends that always show up for me. I really couldn't be more supported. And apologies to those I haven't mentioned. There are so many people that have touched my life and my journey. Thank you all. Lastly, thank you, California Wrestling, for giving me the foundation of training, tournaments, Spargo teams, and seeing me through to this award today. Thank you, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, inducted to the 2025 California Wrestling Hall of Fame, Miss Victoria Anthony. As I was by the curtain, I'm walking closer and closer, and Dennis is looking at me. He's like, "Don't do it, don't do it." Well, this one for sure, as we mentioned, we have two MMA UFC fighters. Here's one that I probably won't even stand next to because of the fact he might look at me and just probably punch me, but no, just a joke. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing our 2025 California Wrestling Hall of Fame inductee, Mr. Joey Davis. His presenter is his father, Mr. Joey Davis Sr. I'll tell you, I love Joey Davis Sr. because every time we talk, he says, man, I love following you, man, on social media, man, all those beautiful places and everything. Great man.
What are we doing?
5. You good?
Yeah. Hello, everybody. What? No, everybody knows that, right? Everybody knows they gotta do that. But I guess I'll just start with, I'm just obviously very just thankful for the food, for the drink, because we all know that we can't, like, whoever competed in the sport, we can't have that at that time, like all the time. But yeah, that was good, that part right there. Yeah, and I guess I'm gonna just keep it simple. Just I had no idea that this was even going to be thought of. Like, as I was growing up or as I was wrestling, I had no idea that there was going to be, like, I don't want to use the others, what I want to say, but I'm probably going to have to use it. Like, I was like, for a minute, like, am I in the NBA? Like, am I in the NFL? Because that's all I know is that they have the Hall of Fames for that. And, and I'm going to just probably go on that point, is that me being a wrestler was just amazing, because it was so amazing that happened for me, because not everybody is 7 foot tall and can go play in the NBA, and not everybody is physically just really, really, really just strong, like that bodybuilder that can just go be a linebacker and go hurt the best running back, So I think that wrestling was just amazing for me. And I guess I'll go a little bit while I have the time. How I got into wrestling is what I can tell you is that it was basically, it's a hard conversation to have real quick, because I'm gonna have to be honest. Being honest is just, when you're honest, it gets you really, really, not that, I'm speaking mostly for like middle schoolers and maybe elementary schoolers and in high school. When you're really, really honest to your dad, and not your mom, no, I'm just playing, but if you're honest to both, if you're honest to your dad about how you feel about, before the wrestling match, that's a beautiful moment. Because when you gotta let your dad know, like, I don't think I can beat this kid, Dad, because he's just tech fault the guy that I didn't think I could beat that time, or that guy. And you let your dad know, watch what he says. It's like he's the same age as you at that moment. He's like, what? I thought we were gonna beat this kid that we're going up against. Like, so now we're both not having the connection, because he didn't know how nervous I was that I had to go against the guy who won the national tournament a week ago or whatever. But when you are honest with your dad, it's very helpful. And I'm gonna just talk about it because I know it's just such a nice event. But I got in the sport of wrestling young because I honestly don't know why my dad put me in wrestling. Like, I didn't actually go up to my dad and was like, oh, here's the magazine, here's the picture. Like, one of my favorite wrestlers is. If you don't know who my favorite wrestler is, then you're probably not a real big fan of me. So I'm gonna just leave it like that. So I didn't, like, I don't know why my dad put me in the sport, but what I will, and I know this is serious to me, because I just know that a lot of the days my dad never was in the best conditioning. He wasn't always physically prepared to take me to the next practice. And we had to work as a team. Somehow I would want to go to the next practice. The days that he doesn't want to go because he's, whatever that his body is physically going to more than his mental, because mentally he will want to go. But physically, there were some days that he wouldn't want to go, and I would have to, let my dad know a full conversation that, Dad, today is Friday, it's the last practice, but on Wednesday and Thursday I was on point, Dad. So I got to continue on. I need to go this day, and I guess us working as a team like that, it got me far far in the sport of wrestling. And I don't know why some days that he wouldn't physically feel how I felt, like as I'm growing up to be the person I have to be. My dad would tell me that I'm not like how I was when I was younger. I'm your father, and I'm still aging, but I'm not how you are as you're growing up right now, even though that he was still growing up. And then we still have that best friend, it's like my best friend. And also my dad and my mentor, my coach, he's everything. But the reason why I'm not gonna get too much on him, because a lot of it is about me, but a lot of what it was my twin. Like I call my mom my twin, because I didn't learn from my mom how to be a wrestler, but I learned how I should be around people in wrestling. And that yeah. Like I would know how to act around other coaches, I would say. When I'm around other champions, it's the most beautiful feeling in the world. If you have a grandson, if you have a nephew or a niece, and they're around that champion that we all know in this place right now, in this Hall of Fame event, when your grandson is around that champion, it's cold. It's cold and it gets warm. And then, no, I don't want no candy. No, I don't want a Gatorade, And when I had that feeling, I knew I didn't want to go home anymore. And that's the best way to explain it. So I didn't know how to be the best wrestler from my mom, but I knew how to have a national champion look at me while I'm getting prepared for my match. That's one thing about not how I actually started wrestling, but as I took off in the sport of wrestling, my mom was my team and my dad was my team. And I don't really know too much about how they are in the love life, but yeah, I'm just very thankful and appreciative for this whole event. And I love my dad. I love my sister, and I don't even know I just appreciate my mom, I guess, because it's my twin. So yeah, appreciate it.
Tilt it forward a little more, right here.
Ladies and gentlemen, inducted to the 2025 California Wrestling Hall of Fame, Mr. Joey Davis. Joey Davis, what would a man do? He says I was just a wrestler. That guy was undefeated in college all 4 years, 2-time NCAA champion. Unbelievable. There's only 3 that have accomplished that. Joey Davis is one of them. I like how he just said, I'm just a wrestler. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing our 2025 California Wrestling Hall of Fame inductee, Mr. Carl Glover. His presenter is his brother, Mr. Cedric Glover.
Okay, first, I'm going to put my clock on, make sure I don't go over 5 minutes. chances are that I might, all right? So I'm just letting you know that. First, I'd like to congratulate all the inductees that came today and that are being inducted into the Hall of Fame. I know it's a great honor, and so I appreciate it as well. One of the things that I like to do, which you guys are going to hear a lot of, is about my coaches, about people who helped me get here. Because everybody knows that you cannot achieve goals in life without somebody else. You need that person there. Okay? And one thing I'd like to say is has nothing to do with my coaches or anything else, but have any of you guys ever met John Dalem, who's been inducted into the Hall of Fame? He was one of the best people in the world. He accepted all of us. He accepted all of us as not just wrestlers, but as people. He taught me a lot in life. He was not my coach. He coached at Loera, and some of his kids will be in here today. But I just had to tell you that because I know he's looking down at us right now. Bruce is one of the luckiest people in the world for having him as a coach. I just wanted to let you know that. Okay, I'd like to thank some people first about who helped me get here. First is my wife. Okay, my wife has been there since since the beginning, and I'll tell you, she's always believed in me through good, bad, and ugly. Okay, and so she's always a big part of what I do. Okay, and my kids are here today. My kids are a little old though. My kids are here, and Sam, where's she at? Sam, Claudia. Okay, those are my kids, and without that family, I couldn't have done the things I do today. My wife actually got me in there. Now, I have a second family. Me and my brother's going to be giving me the plaque today. We lost our parents before I was 18 years old. Okay? And so it was extremely hard to make it, without them. But I had a family that took me in when I was younger. Mike and Sue, please stand up. Tony, Maria, Debbie, those were my brothers, since my parents were gone. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about my brother, and the reason why I'm here, I got to keep looking at this thing. Ooh, it's going fast. Okay, so, my brother, a lot of people didn't know I had a brother, believe it or not. Through all my wrestling career and everything else like that, all they knew was me. They didn't know I really had a brother. Well, I do. Okay? And my brother's been there with me, obviously, since day one. So my brother knows where all the bodies are buried. Okay? And he was my inspiration. My brother was a great athlete coming out of high school, scholarships in football, basketball, and baseball, everything. And I used to watch him, and I used to think that, man, I would like to be like that someday. Well, I never did turn out like he was. He was really good. And so, but when it came down to hard work and stuff, he was always there for me. He'd tell me, you got to work harder, because I was really lazy. And he would say, you're not going to get anywhere if you keep working like that and all that. So I would just blow him off, But the truth of the matter is that everybody has a hero in life. And sometimes it's your dad, it's your mom, it's your wife, it's whoever it may be. My hero is my brother, because I wanted to be like him when I grew up. I wanted to be like him. Now, I got to thank all my coaches. Ooh, we're getting close. Anyway, I'm going to thank all my coaches. Can't name them now, okay, but I had a lot of good coaches when I was coming up. But I do want to mention the ones from East LA College, all my coaches that helped me become the wrestler that I am today. And again, I can't name them all by name, but they're the ones that helped me get through, my wrestling career. My wrestling career, I had a really good wrestling career. I won CIF, I won Masters, and went on to state twice, placed state. I won the freestyle stage 3 times, and I was alternate Olympic team, alternate in the world team, and I also got to wrestle Team Foxcatcher. A lot of you guys know that. And so with that, I have to say that I was very fortunate. But my best thing in life is becoming a teacher. And I've been a teacher now for 35 years. And I couldn't have done it without you guys and the coaches. Thank you guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, inducted in the 2025 California Wrestling Hall of Fame, Mr. Carl Glover. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing our next 2025 California Wrestling Hall of Fame inductee, Ms. Tatiana Padilla Suarez. Her presenter is her brother, Mr. Chris Lopez. Second.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Well, I'm just going to hold it. It's an incredible honor to be here today. When I started wrestling, obviously, I didn't think I would be here. Probably would have just, at 4 years old, I probably would have just double-A'd you and asked for a juice box or something. And to think it all started with a simple wrestling youth flyer that got into my mother's hands. This would forever change the trajectory of my life and the life of my siblings as well, forever. I'm very bad at public speaking, so I'm so sorry. I'm probably going to just have to read this, because if not, I'll just lose track and my ADHD mind will go somewhere far beyond anything that you guys can comprehend. So I'm sorry. I grew up on the wrestling mats, and I wasn't even 4 years old when I first competed in my first match. I was just 31 pounds of fierceness and in love with the sport. Wrestling became my family's heartbeat, and you know, my mom, she did everything on her own. We didn't have a father, and she did everything on her own, and I think that wrestling was the glue for us. It was something that we could all bond over, because you know emotions aren't allowed in our household. I'm just kidding. But wrestling, you know, it taught my entire family discipline, resilience, and how to fight for what we want in life. I want to thank a few people that are here. Obviously, my mother. Anytime I talk about my mother, I cry, so I wish I could not talk about her, but I have to. You sacrificed so much for us so that we could chase our dreams. You know, you scrounged up the change to take us to every wrestling practice and made sure that we made it to every single tournament. You taught us to believe in ourselves and to put our best foot forward. And most of all, you taught us to never give up. See, I told you I would cry with that one. To my grandmother, thank you so much. If anybody knows and they see me, they go, "Where's your grandma?" You probably have more tournament t-shirts than I do, and you probably remember who I wrestled when I was 8, so that says a lot. To my brother, my idol, thank you for leading the way and raising the bar. You lit a fire in me to be great, and you continue to do so for so many young children and the youth in your wrestling program, and it's been an honor to witness. You continue to give back to the sport and inspire so many. Coach Choa, thank you for being a great coach and mentor. Thank you for keeping me focused when I needed it, and always keeping your door open when it was lunchtime, because, you know, I didn't like to socialize, so I would just hang out with Coach Choa and eat cup of noodles. It's true. You made sure that I made it to all the right tournaments, wrestled year-round, and made sure I never lost sight of my goals and dreams, and you still send me jokes on the internet still to this day. So thank you for those. My journey has not been easy. I've faced many challenges, life-threatening illnesses, devastating injuries, and setbacks that could have broken me. But nothing could have prepared me to face these moments better than wrestling has. This sport taught me how to fight when it mattered the most. It gave me the mental toughness, the resilience, and the belief that I could rise. Wrestling taught me how to be a true champion, not just on the mat, but in life. It taught me that hard work pays off and that setbacks do not define you. It's not about the medals and accomplishments. It's about how you live, how you lead, and how you show up, even when the odds are stacked against you. Wrestling has taught me invaluable lessons that I will forever carry for the rest of my life. Now, as I stand here today, I hope I can lead by example for the next generation, for young girls watching, for my nieces, and one day for my own children. And for every girl who's ever been told wrestling isn't for you, I'm here to tell you that it is. To be recognized here is more than just a personal achievement for me. It's a reflection of all the people who have stood by me, supported me, and helped shape this journey. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Ladies and gentlemen, inducted in the 2025 California Wrestling Hall of Fame is Tatiana Padilla Flores. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing our next 2025 California Wrestling Hall of Fame inductee, Mr. Ray Rohde. And his presenter, Mr. Paul Bright. And as they make their way up here, Paul was the assistant principal back in 1980 that hired Ray. Ray, would you like us on the stand or hold it? What do you prefer? You want it on the stand or you want to hold it?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. I would like to first start off by thanking the board and the nominating committee of this awesome event and having me considered for the Wrestling Hall of Fame. It's a great honor, and I appreciate them doing that and including me with all the other outstanding individuals that have been inducted tonight and previous years. To start off, I was a wrestler 60 years ago, is when I started. Went through junior high, high school, college, and then started to coach. I coached in Ohio for 7 years, and my wife and I wanted to move to a warmer climate because we were tired of Ohio winters. And I answered an ad in Wrestling USA magazine. Some of you might remember that publication. In the back, they had a little section called Jobs in Wrestling. And there was an ad there that was for Edgewood High School. They needed a metal shop teacher and wrestling coach. I answered the ad, and I was hired. Mr. Paul Bright, my assistant principal at the time, was the one that actually hired me. In the back of my table, there's a a lovely lady by the name of Audrey Tassi and her son Mark. They're the ones that actually placed the ad. And that's why I'm here in California. My other friend Hank Moore and his wife Kathy. Hank was the football coach at Edgewood, and he was hired in 1973. 1983. And when when he came into the PE office, Edgewood had just won a CIF championship in wrestling, and the plaque was sitting on my PE desk. And he looks at it and he goes, "Oh, that's pretty impressive." He says, "Are you that wrestling coach?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You're my defensive coordinator." So we coached football for a few years. And my brother came from Florida to help me celebrate this evening. I have two friends, Yale and Katrina, that also came, and Paul's wife, lovely wife Donna, and two other wrestlers from from Canyon Springs showed up out of the blue, and they're here to help me celebrate and get my award. So thank you again. This is an awesome event. Congratulations to all the inductees, all the service award winners, and hope to see you next year. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, inducted in the 2025 California Wrestling Hall of Fame, Mr. Ray Rohde. Introducing our next 2025 California Wrestling Hall of Fame inductee, Mr. Richard Tamble. His presenter is class of 2022 Hall of Fame inductee, Mr. Tom McCann.
Good evening. First, I'd like to thank my wife, Jodine, for 47 wonderful years. She's been a constant blessing throughout our time together. Next, I'd like to thank Tom McCann for nominating me, for toughening me up, pounding on me for 2 years at El Camino, and thank you to the committee who selected me for this honor. Everyone here knows that no one achieves anything in wrestling without good coaching and good teammates. The coaches I was blessed to wrestle under are highly decorated in the wrestling community. They wanted us to succeed in both wrestling and in life. Bob Bonheim, my high school wrestling coach, never wrestled before he became the first wrestling coach at South Torrance. He learned, and then he taught us. And within 4 years after the school opened, we were CIF champions. When Coach Bonheim's young wife contracted ALS, he took her back to the East Coast to care for her until she passed. He continued coaching in wrestling, and became the head coach at Liberty University, where he won 5 national championships and was inducted into the National Hall of Fame. Coach Hangsteller was my wrestling coach at El Camino Junior College, where he won 5 state championships. I was privileged to be on his first 2 championship teams. He influenced many of us to go into education and coaching. And in 1965, he met my next coach, Frank Powell, on a plane coming home from the national championships. Coach Powell needed a 177-pounder. Coach Hangsteller told him he had a perfect fit for him. After Coach Hangsteller got home, he called Frank Dulce and told him to pack for cold weather. He was going to Colorado. That started a 4-year convoy of 11 wrestlers from El Camino to Adams State, a small teachers' college in Colorado. Over half of our team in Colorado was from El Camino. We helped them win the school's first national championship in 1968. I was blessed to wrestle with 6 men who have been inducted into this Hall of Fame and who have been a positive influence on my life. 3 years ago, El Camino Junior College celebrated their 75th anniversary. They named 75 men and women as the best athletes to have attended El Camino. 5 of those 75 were wrestlers. I had the privilege to be on the same team with 4 of them. 2 of those 5 honorees are here tonight, Tom McCann and Dale Defner. I'd like to share a couple of short stories that are typical of wrestling coaches going above and beyond. I had the privilege of coaching with Andy Harris in Torrance when California decided that every student had to pass an English and math competency to graduate. Our administration asked Andy to work with the kids who had failed the math test. He took on that challenge, and he spent extra hours of time tutoring those students who needed help. Every student he tutored passed the state exam to graduate. Then there was Tom Hazel, who followed Coach Hangsteller at as the El Camino coach. When Coach Hangsteller could no longer live on his own, Tom Hazel asked him to come live with him, and he took care of Coach for the last few years of his life. Those are the kind of men that I know, that I've wrestled with, and I have coached with. The last 2 men that I'd like to talk about, 2 past inductees, Bob Anderson and Nick Carrillo, whom I wrestled with at El Camino and Adams State, had enough concern for my eternal well-being to share the truth about the free gift of eternal life through Jesus Christ with me. They encouraged me to read the Bible for myself, and I would like to encourage you to check it out. The best-selling book in the world at all time. And it's got a great ending. Thank you. God bless.
Ladies and gentlemen, inducted in the 2025 California Wrestling Hall of Fame, Mr. Richard Hamble. All right, here we go. One of our favorites right here. This guy is a character, loving the death like a brother. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing our 2025 California Wrestling Hall of Fame inductee, Mr. Todd Thompson. His presenter is his El Dorado High School coach and class of 2007 Hall of Fame inductee, Mr. Frank Gonzalez.
I like to start every story with the great Al Bundy. I ever tell you about the time I pinned the guy twice in the same match? But one of the greatest matches I ever had, I was wrestling the guy, and he was holding my leg, and I was pulling away, and I was arguing with the ref that the guy has to improve. And Daryl Pope was the opposing coach over there, and he looked at the ref and says, "I swear he's a lot better than he was last year." So he was improving. And I'm looking at the list of the members. 15 of the 28 members are personal friends of mine, coaches of mine, teammates. If they had to recuse themselves, I'm not sure the other 13 would have let me in, so it might have been fixed here. But I do very much thank all the people that put me in here, and I look at 2007, there's a Lifetime Service Award picture over there with Bob Stola, who was my first wrestling coach. Both of my parents were inducted that year, and Bill Clark, who I believe was the athletic director at my high school that hired my coach, Frank Gonzalez, that turned a program at El Dorado. In 1982, they won the state championship. The year later, they were third. And in 1986, the team I was on, we placed second. And today's day and age, they have these superstar teams that recruit and have 5 and 6 finalists every year. Back when we had 3 finalists, we were the first team to have 3 finalists and 2 champions. That was considered a powerhouse team at the time, and we took second that year to Poway because they just had too many kids and we couldn't compete. But they had no champs, but just had too many that outnumbered us. And so the list of people I'd like to thank: my parents who are no longer with me, my teammates, probably the Lawsons were the most influential people on my wrestling career. They had different things to go on tonight, but the people at my table: Alan Paradise, Mo DeFerrante, my college roommate, teammate Mark Girardi, the 2 staff members, Karen and Natalie, that have been by my side. I wrote some computer software, and I ran, for 25 years, I ran 100 tournaments a year. I continue to run the high school state final wrestling tournament. And as much as what little wrestling success I had as a high school wrestler, my commitment and contribution to the sport of wrestling, to me, is how I hope to be remembered by. And the friendships that I've made are priceless. And for everybody who's here tonight, everybody who's ever watched me wrestle, everybody who's helped and coached, been a teammate, a partner, a coach, love you all and appreciate it, and thank you for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, inducted in the 2025 California Wrestling Hall of Fame, Mr. Todd Tomaszak. Alan Paradise, can I just share one story of the state meet about Todd? You know, Todd running the state meet with Alan Paradise and Lou Montano and several others. There are some very stressful moments as far as getting this tournament started. And every time we go to Todd, he's like, oh, no problem. Hey, no problem. Hey, Natalie, I need you to do this. Hey, Karen, I need you to do this. And then before you know it, it's ready to go. And it's amazing because he, like you said, he's done so many tournaments, and we thank him as well as the staff. And again, he's a good personal friend of all of ours, good character, but we enjoy that. All right, moving on. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing our 2025 California Wrestling Hall of Fame inductee, Mr. Tim Tyler. His presenter is Thomas Juarez, who was a 2-time California State medalist, as well as former Cal State Bakersfield wrestler. You want to hold this? No. Okay. I think I'll just tilt it up a little bit. Okay.
Ready to rock. Wow, good evening. Good evening. Well, first and foremost, I'd like to say thank you, and this is definitely an honor. I would be remiss if I didn't thank some of the individuals who share this award with me and Hilltop High School, where I spent the majority of my years coaching. First, thanks to the California Wrestling Hall of Fame committee for this honor to be placed amongst all the great coaches and wrestlers who have laid the groundwork for the standards of successful wrestling programs. Thanks to Lynn Dyke, our founder of this organization, to bring these every year throughout the state, and it's wonderful. To Dwayne Morgan, who is our current director, and then to Anthony Morales, who is actually our president at this time, and for the leadership that they bring for both girls or women and men wrestling, boys wrestling in California. It's been a long journey, and at times I wonder how I got to this place with receiving a couple of awards for my life's work in the world of wrestling. I've learned so much about wrestling, having been a part of all 3 phases of this sport. During my time as a high school wrestler, first having a hard-charging coach at Madison High School in San Diego, Coach Bob Roeder, who is actually a part of San Diego County's Coaching Legends Hall of Fame, which we do down there. They put on a Hall of Fame there for all sports in coaching, who guided this lost kid with discipline and support. But I think it was my observation of the coaches that went on around me that I observed daily, with the likes of John Yasuda, Rick Arnold, Jim Team, all part of Cal Poly's phenomenal teams back in the day, who were coached by Von Hitchcock, by Bill Clotter, Glenn Takahashi, and Ned Blass, who are some pretty darn good coaches in the San Diego County area, who are also in the Hall of Fame. Out of high school, I wrestled at Mesa College, JC, for a couple years, and then went on to San Diego State, where Jim Team was our coach there at the time. But we lost the program in 1974, only to be reclaimed a little bit back in the early 80s for 1 year, and it just didn't materialize. We need a wrestling program at San Diego State. I think it would be very successful. Starting at the age of 19 is phase 2. I was taken and molded as a referee by Dan Dierdorf for the next 16 years. And during that time, I also coached. I started my coaching career doing both at the same time, which was kind of allowed and not allowed. It was kind of allowed. But I did it anyway in the 80s. And in 1987, I called the California State Wrestling Championships. And I might add at that time, and I was talking to Dwayne Morgan, who was refereeing at the time with us in '87. We had 8 mats and 10 officials for 2 days of wrestling. It's not like it is now. It's not even close. It was an awful lot of work. During much of that time, I started coaching while refereeing in 1976. I went to El Centro Union High School. Was my first coaching job in the Imperial Valley, which started the third phase of the sport, coaching. I moved around from various schools until settling down at Hilltop High School for 27 years, coaching 20 years at Hilltop High. It was there I totally realized that we are all in the kid business. It was something else to watch kids grow throughout your career and turn into businessmen, doctors, lawyers, and what have you, and great family men. Trying to mold some of these difficult kids wasn't easy in life, but the biggest part of it was just trying to get them to buy into our program, to buy into something that we did there at Hilltop. Not just open a room up daily and just kind of exist as a coach. Kurt Gritz, you and I, and a few others along the way we did pretty well there. We started a great thing at Hilltop and carried it on for quite a few years. I'm so proud of the work we did and the friendships we formed. I never forgot that first CIF title that we won, and I don't think you'll forget it either. It was something else. The hardest part was getting these kids to buy into us, like I said. To some of the guys here, Richard, Brandon, John, and then John Sauls for coming. I really appreciate you guys being here. You guys put us on the map. It was unbelievable. We in San Diego have had some great leadership in our CIF commissioners, I might add, and they are the ones that lead all the sports assistant commissioners in the sports in our counties. I'd like to thank Bill McLaughlin, who was our assistant commissioner for many years, Dennis Ackerman, Jerry Schneep, and Joe Hines, who is now our commissioner at this time. And what I would tell them, and they would all come to me, or many of us, and ask us, what's wrestling about? Because they know nothing about the sport of wrestling. And I just tell them, just sit back, relax. It's organized chaos, but it does work. When it was time to retire in 2006 after winning our last CIF title, as with all coaches, you hope that you can find someone to take over and continue your life's work. I convinced Thomas to take this job, and 19 years later, he's still the coach at Hilltop High, carrying on the traditions. Tom is a two-time state placer, one-time state placer. I try to exaggerate it a little bit, but that's okay. He wrestled at Bakersfield along with Stephen Neal. If many of you know who Stephen Neal is. He'll be there a while because he's got 2 boys coming up. One of them's wrestling now, and he hopes the littler one will wrestle along with him. Lastly, I'd like to thank my brother, Kerry, his wife, Kelly, and Sally for standing there by me. I really appreciate everything that you've been in my life. I'd like to leave you this last thing. Many of us in this room would all agree, if the shoe fits, we have all had many different titles in our life: son, athlete, husband, dad, coach, etc. But I believe that the best title that I've ever been bestowed upon is the title of Grandpa. Thank you for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, inducted in the 2025 California Wrestling Hall of Fame, Mr. Tim Tyler. Introducing next our 2025 California Wrestling Hall of Fame inductee, Mr. Greg Williams. His presenter is his high school coach from University High School in San Diego, and class of 2014 Hall of Fame inductee, Mr. Corky Napier.
First off, I'd just like to thank the California Wrestling Hall of Fame. Very, very well organized Hall of Fame. When I was notified that I was a nominee, I looked up the past recipients and what they've accomplished, and it was basically a journey down memory lane. So many of those individuals were people who I'd rubbed shoulders with, whether they were guys that I competed against, coaches that mentored along the way. Remember Ivan Olson when I was a 15-year-old sophomore. I was pretty good at Greco, and he's coaching a high school, and he does a lot of pairing nationwide, and said, "You're ready to challenge yourself more," and took me to my first open senior Greco tournament, and I competed there and got my butt kicked. But both guys that I lost to ended up in the finals. Is back when you had good mark, bad mark, whatever it was. And they both helped me. Like, they loved that some young kid was up there, and they were very good at taking some time and helping me. And by that summer, some of the stuff they showed me, I was a whole different level. But as a coach, my last several years, we went by we had a plan to help them with their journey. And it was called PAGO, and the O stood for ownership. And we got them to understand that, our journey's on us. It's 100% our responsibility. Even though that's our responsibility, and to have success, we've got to make good decisions along the path, try to make the best decision at that moment. We can never have the successes that we end up having without those around us. So looking at all of those, people that had influences in my life, it was just a great experience to go back and see those and feel those and recognize some of those influences. The person who influenced me the most, that got me really on track to be the person that I am, the coach that I was Corky Napier, who's my presenter today. He was my high school coach, started my sophomore year, took a 4-year hiatus from Madera, and came down and coached at University High School, which doesn't even exist anymore, and didn't have a wrestling program after he left. But he was the first coach that actually gave me a systematic training program, so that not only did I learn things in series with him, when I went on to college and went on to teach other wrestlers, I always had a system in mind and how to build on each series that we were working on with top-level kids. And so he was huge in my wrestling, but more importantly, he and his wife, they took me into their home, many times, and were a great example of a married couple, a great father, great mother, and I just strive to be more like him. And as I coached, I always had him in the back of my mind. And it drove me to always want to be better. And so I really, really appreciate his influence because I wouldn't be where I am without that. Lastly, I want to talk about my family support. 19 years ago, I got the opportunity to apply, if I wanted, to Utah Valley University, which was just finished their third year of a 6-year moratorium before they could go D1 postseason. They went from a junior college to D1. And I had an elite wrestling club of 80 wrestlers, and I didn't want to change that, but this just kept pulling. Who doesn't want to be a D1 coach that's serious about wrestling and coaching? And there was no other wrestling program at the time in Utah for college level. And I took that, and when I took it, I gave up the opportunity of my club, but my wife was a principal in a very demanding area. I told her at first I was going to try to commute and then recognized I couldn't. It was a 2-hour drive back. And she said, we'll move. And it turned out really well, but it was a little scary at first, and she got a really good job. And my 2 daughters at the time, they didn't never complain about leaving the schools, leaving their friends. And now I have this family with 3 daughters, and now 3 son-in-laws and grandkids. And every single one of them, when they entered our family unit, were all in, completely supportive. And so as I think back from my history and my journey, couldn't be here without that support, and so appreciative for that, and hope that you all will continue to be your best selves as you make decisions every day. And that's what I hope will be my legacy with the kids that I mentor. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, inducted to the 2025 California Wrestling Hall of Fame, Mr. Greg Williams. And now for our final introduction, introducing our 2025 California Wrestling Hall of Fame inductee, Ms. Marie Ziegler. Her presenter is Class 2016 Hall of Fame inductee, Ms. Afson Johnson. Would you like to hold it, or you want to just on a stand?
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Let's take it home. I'm the last one. I was encouraged to tell my wrestling weight cutting story, inspired by the very first story we heard earlier tonight. There was a world championships where we had a very technical scale. I used to wrestle at 44 kilos, which is 96 pounds. And that was always it was my first of many challenges as a wrestler. The scale, I had to be 44.2. The scale put me at 44.29. And the referee said, I'm sorry. All the other countries were around the scale, and they said, USA, no. USA, no good. So the referee told me, he goes, you have 10 minutes. And we couldn't find a hair dryer. My hair was longer than it is tonight. Trish Saunders found a pair of scissors. Afsoon grabbed all my hair, and I got a world championship makeover. I weighed in at 43 point something, so I actually had a lot of water on me still. I want to thank the board and everyone who made tonight possible. I don't take it lightly, and I will cherish tonight forever. I accept this award on behalf of my 3 beautiful children, Mia, McKenna, and McCartney. I love you. I watch the future of women's wrestling, and I sit in awe. From 1989 to what it is today is nothing short of incredible. If you had told us back in 1989 that I would see people and the way it's going, I wouldn't have believed it. It is one of my proudest moments. to have opened that door and watch some of these women walk through it is just nothing short of incredible. I think that wrestling really shows you who you are. I think I was a cheerleader in high school. I was 5'2" and 90 pounds, and I didn't think I could be an athlete. But wrestling, there's a place for everybody. It doesn't matter what size you are. It doesn't matter what gender you are. It just doesn't matter. There's a place for you. And it's wrestling is such a beautiful family, and they've always opened me with open arms and taught me more than I could have ever imagined. I'm very, very grateful. I think one of my favorite souvenirs of wrestling is all the relationships that I've made through wrestling. The medals are great, but honestly, they're my gold medals. We have some OGs in the house tonight. And I thank you guys for traveling far and wide, and I love you so much. It's a sisterhood and a bond that cannot be broken, not even in 40 years, so I love you guys. I also want to put a shout out to all the men and all the coaches that supported us before women's wrestling was cool. They definitely put their neck out on the line, guys like Roy Oliver, Rusty Davison, Tadaki Hata, Randy Takahashi, Joe Corso. These guys really went out on a limb for us. The most important relationship that wrestling did give me is the one with myself. And it taught me how strong I could be. It taught me perseverance. It taught me no matter how much life or the other opponent beats me down, I will get back up. And with everything that life has thrown at me, I know that I stand here today because of the fighter that wrestling showed me that I was. So thank you so much, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, inducted in the 2025 California Wrestling Hall of Fame, Miss Marie Ziegler. And ladies and gentlemen, as you notice in your program, it was three individuals that obviously are not longer with us anymore, but I want to just recognize Frank Crosby, Al Sonny Lyles, and Walt Wagner, our Southern Section pioneers of wrestling dating back to the 1920s, 30s, and 40s. Let's give those families, those individuals, a round of applause. And now, speaking on behalf of the Hall of Fame Executive Committee, we'd like to thank you and commend each of our 2025 Hall of Fame inductees and our Lifetime Service Award recipients for all the time, effort, and the contribution that they have given during a lifetime to the sport of amateur wrestling. Individuals such as these honored this evening is a reason that wrestling, the oldest and greatest sport, continues to thrive and prosper in California. Inductees, Service Award recipients, will you please stand? All inductees, all service recipients, please stand. Our congratulations to all of you. You are appreciated. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, let's give one more round of applause and congratulate this class of 2025 inductees and Service Award recipients. Now, Service Award recipients and Hall of Fame inductees, it's very important that we'll have a group photo after this, so make sure you bring up your award and your sports coat. But again, just in a couple of minutes, after our closing remarks, we'll ask for all inductees and Service Award recipients to please come to the stage, and most importantly, with your award for your group photo. In closing, next year, we'll be in Sacramento, California, at the Doubletree Marriott Hotel on May 2nd, 2026, for our class of 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending our Hall of Fame banquet. We hope that all of you had an enjoyable evening, and prior to wishing all of you a good evening, this concludes our program. Wishing all of you a safe return trip back home. Good night. Now, once again, all Lifetime Service recipients, please come to the stage, followed by our Hall of Fame inductees, followed by our Laguna Hills wrestlers, and then we'll have group family photos at that.